Welcome to my channel Kamal Sathu. In today's lecture session, we will discuss how the conflict between Russia and Ukraine will impact the Indian economy, how the major sectors of Indian economy will be impacted due to this conflict. So for easy and simple lecture sessions related to BBA, BCom, MBA and current international business topics, do share, like and subscribe my channel. So the conflict between Russia and Ukraine will have major implications on Indian trade and economy. It will impact the movement of goods, payments, and even the oil prices. The Federation of Indian Export Organizations have even asked the Indian exporters to hold their goods that take Black Sea route. As per 2021 data, India's bilateral trade with Russia was 11.9 billion US dollars and with Ukraine was 3.18 US billion dollars. The war and the sanctions imposed by other countries will also impact the trade with Russia. These sanctions have cut off money flow from Russia to the rest of the world. There is even possibility of sharp rise in inflation in next 6 to 8 months in India. And from diplomatic point of view, India also has a great challenge in handling this situation that rose due to this conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Even before Russia entered Ukraine, the crude oil prices touched $100 per barrel, and by the end of 7th of March, the crude oil prices were 130 US dollar per barrel, which is the highest since 2008. As Russia being a major exporter of crude oil, the oil prices will soar further. The conflict will have a direct bearing on Indian economy as India imports oil from Russia and sunflower oil from Ukraine. Nearly 84% of sunflower oil is imported from Ukraine. As India is dependent on imported oil, so it will have a direct impact on inflation too. All the sectors which depend upon oil as a key input, like refining, chemicals, and fertilizers, will be affected. On February 24, when Russian president announced a military action against Ukraine, the Indian markets also crashed by 4.7%. By the end of year 2021, the India's exports to Russia was rupees 27.114 billion as per RBI data. This is highest export trade amount in last 30 years. The war will impact these exports. Electrical machinery and other equipments are India's major exports to Russia. The pharma sector is also the main exporter to Russia. The pharma exports to Russia and Ukraine are around 12% of India's overall pharmaceutical exports to the world. Tea is also exported to Russia. Apart from crude oil, Russia also imports fertilizers, precious stones, and metals. Russia is also India's biggest arms supplier. The steel prices also rose to nearly rupees 5,000 per ton due to the supply chain issues that resulted due to Russia and Ukraine conflict. Automobiles and electronic devices manufacturers and phone makers will also be affected due to the shortage of chips that are exported from Russia and Ukraine. The conflict will result in delay of shipments, late payments, and damage to consignments, thus affecting the bilateral trade. So we can say that this conflict between Russia and Ukraine will impact the financial markets, the exchange rates, imports, exports, and even the crude oil prices. From past few days since the conflict began, the demand of Indian wheat and spices have increased as Russia was a major exporter of wheat. Since February 26, the price of wheat at Kandla port have increased from rupees 2200 per quintal to rupees 2400 per quintal due to rise in global demand. Similarly, the corn and coriander demand have shifted from Ukraine to India. But overall, the conflict will impact the global trade and relations between various nations, thus having a greater impact on world economic growth. So, this was all in today's lecture session in which we briefly discussed the impact of conflict between Ukraine and Russia on Indian economy. Thank you.